Hey everybody, this is Eric Schweitzer from the Gamer.com editorial team, and I'm here with Editor-in-Chief Stacey Henley, who also reviewed Fire Emblem Engage.
Hello.
Stacey, I guess my main takeaway from your review is that Fire Emblem Engage is great Fire Emblem, but not necessarily a sequel to Three Houses, which seems kind of weird considering how popular and successful that game was, right?
Yeah, it really surprised me. I got into Fire Emblem with Awakening, as I think a lot of people did.
Me too.
And then after Awakening, the next, well, probably even bigger, was Three Houses. So I don't mind that they went back to a more Awakening style. The only problem with it is they've kept some of the social stuff from Three Houses. You know, you have a hub, you talk to people, interact with them, can have meals with them, and there's fishing mini games and all that kind of stuff. They're just not very good. It would almost be better if they just cut them completely and made it a hardcore thing and said we're ditching the social stuff, we're ditching the persona style interactions with different characters, and we just want it to be a straight tactics based game. But they haven't. They've kept a lot of stuff, and it just isn't quite as good. It doesn't feel as fulfilling. People don't play as much. So if you've only played Three Houses, I think this will be a surprise for you. But the gameplay is fantastic, and I still think it's worth it. And if you are like me or have been a Fire Emblem fan for even longer, I think you'll be very happy with how this turns out.
So we're looking at the combat right now. Talk a little bit about what makes Engage unique.
The big thing with Engage is the Engage mechanic. So throughout the game, there are 12 rings that you can collect. You start off with just one, and you lose some as you go, so you won't keep the same ones all the way through. These are representatives of the 12 previous player characters, especially when you get as Marth, who was leader of the first Fire Emblem game. And then there's Byleth, who a lot of people will know, obviously, from Three Houses, and there'll be lots that you won't know if you haven't been with the series since the start. There was some that I haven't played all of the original games. And you can assign these to different units, and they basically have two abilities. They each have essentially an ult. So I think Marth lets you attack 5 times in a row. Roy has a burning sword. I can't remember what Byleth says. Byleth isn't in the game very much, unfortunately. So one of it is you get a special ultimate ability, and the other half is you get their signature weapon. So with Ike, you get the hammer. So the thing with that is, especially at the start of the game, you don't have as many. It's a bit of a tactical choice, not just who you give the actual rings to, but do you use them at the start to kind of clear out some weaker enemies, or do you save them for the stronger enemies, which means kind of having to get through the battle without using all your power-ups.
And then I saw that like Corinna was there and you're like fighting alongside the old Fire Emblem heroes too.
Yeah, so if you have the rings equipped, even if you don't engage them for their ultimate ability, they still appear on the battlefield, and they give they might boost your strength or your dexterity or one of those categories. I think up to 3 of those categories, depending on how strong your bond is. And from an aesthetic point of view, the animations, you attack with them. You can also spend, there's points you get in the game, bond points they're called, where you can spend those to unlock other characters. So with Byleth, if you spend them on Byleth's ring, you can unlock characters like Bernadetta and Edelgard. Actually, no, Edelgard isn't next to DLC, but you can unlock some of the supporting characters from the old game, and they don't have abilities. They don't have this ultimate ability, but they will still give you a stat boost.
When I was going through the footage, I watched a lot of your dialogue scenes with the other characters, and I gotta say, I'm not too impressed with some of the writing in this game.
No, the writing's very flat, and I only recorded a few of the conversations for you. I had to sit through all of them, and my biggest problem is so many of the characters are really similar in their personality and goal and motivations. There are at least 4 characters who basically have these conversations with you and just want to be told that they're cute or pretty or something very frivolous. The ones that they have between each other, because the characters will bond as you fight with them together, as you pair them for activities. those have a little bit more intrigue. If the game, has paired them together well, if they're not just random characters, but characters who are from the same region or have similar personalities. But most of the ones with Aaliyah are very, very flat.
Mm-hmm. And then as for like the mini games and stuff, we're about to see like a rhythm game where you point the sticks in a certain direction. Are there any good ones, or are they all just kind of like that?
They're all just like that. The fishing is fine, but the problem with all of the mini games is you get a pet who joins you at your academy, and you have to go and visit it. It's got a little den. You can pet it. You can feed it food. A very kind of basic activity, but you can dress it up. It's kind of the whimsical, kind of frivolous fun that you might get in this kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
I got bored after a while. I maxed it out, and I thought, that's done. But because I didn't keep going back to it and constantly giving it oranges, it started to like me less, and that made the activities harder. So by halfway through the game, I couldn't do fishing anymore because it was too. My pet didn't like me enough, so I couldn't catch the biggest fish because they didn't give you enough time.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
with the training that we're seeing now, it says mistakes bad 3. The more your pet likes you, the more those mistakes won't count. So if you make a mistake and your pet likes you, it just won't count. And the more it likes you, the more mistakes you're allowed to make before the game stops you. But for the fishing, it lowers the time you have to do the activity.
I almost didn't notice that little pet before. What a bizarre little guy.
Yeah, it doesn't need to have the hair. I just like that. That was my choice because I really like the toothpaste 2-color hair. I like since it was revealed, especially on the female model. I think it looks quite neat. But the dog does look a little bit ugly. You can give it a bow or a crown, or change its collar or stuff like that.
Such a strange scenario. It's almost as if there's like 2 different teams making Fire Emblem now. Like maybe they should even split them into 2 separate series where one is a lot more of the Persona style and one is very combat focused. Do you think so?
I think if I had gone from Awakening, or what was the one in the middle? I think Fate was the one after Awakening. So if I'd gone from that to this, I probably would have said yes, because the social sides are just quite boring. But because it was such a success in 3 houses, I don't know why they couldn't really replicate 3 houses again. It didn't need to be a sequel. It didn't need to be the same characters. It didn't need to even be 3 distinct teams. I don't mind it being this big sprawling cast, but it just... I know they can combine them both perfectly. I mean, 3 Houses is probably my favourite Switch game. This is not as good, but I would still recommend it. So I think it would be a shame to see them admit that they can't do 3 Houses again, which I think is what splitting would be. But I would know what I was getting, I suppose. So if that happened, I wouldn't hate it.
And while this seems like it's been well received, your review was a 4 out of 5, and a lot of reviews are strong. It does seem like there's a general disappointment that this isn't more 3 Houses-esque.
Yeah, and I think it's also an in-between. If it had committed fully, if it had done what you had suggested and kind of committed fully to this is the tactics game, and we're not going to do the Persona-y downtime, social activity stuff, then I would have probably personally been a bit disappointed because I like that side of the game, but I would have understood it. But right now, because I still have to sit through hours of fishing and doing press-ups and squats and feeding my dog oranges so that it's easier to catch fish, I think the disappointment is that they tried and fell so far short of what 3 Houses had, as opposed to just disappointment that it's not there. Some people would have been disappointed if it wasn't there, but you could live with it if they had committed hard to, we are going to do this purely tactical.
Yeah. Okay, well, doesn't quite live up to 3 Houses, but still a strong recommend on its own merits. I guess the big question is Fire Emblem Engage or Marvel's Midnight Suns?
It's funny because I all the way through playing Midnight Suns, because you really sold me on that, I compared it to Fire Emblem and said I was trying to get people to play. I said it's really like a kind of a Fire Emblem game. But playing Fire Emblem so soon afterwards, obviously Suns was December, there was a much bigger difference actually playing it than kind of how I pictured Fire Emblem in my mind. Fire Emblem uses a grid. There's no card system. You set the attacks or weapons that you have. So Suns really delivered on the I care about these characters. The downtime is just as rewarding, if not more, than the actual battling. So I can see myself replay. Obviously, the DLC for Suns is coming out. I'm probably going to replay that more, but I still think the actual gameplay, the actual tactical battling that Suns kind of riffs off Fire Emblem style Fire Emblem is still the best in class for that type of gameplay.
Well, there you go, folks. Play Marvel's Midnight Suns. That's our Fire Emblem Engage review. Thanks so much for watching, and check out Stacy's full review linked down in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and visit us at thegamer.com. That's the gamer, no space.